On Monday morning, CBS News announced that it had acquired the Free Press, probably the most successful Substack on the platform. And Bari Weiss, who founded it 4 years ago, would be named the editor-in-chief of CBS News. I think that this is actually not a bad thing. There's a lot of hand-wringing among media types about this. And I'm going to tell you why I'm not convinced that it's terrible. So let's just quickly talk about what we know. First of all, this is not a surprise. Skydance, which is owned by David Ellison, Larry Ellison, the software billionaire's son, has been circling around Bari Weiss for a while. They bought CBS News. There's rumor that they may buy CNN, but they've been interested in Bari Weiss and the Free Press for a while. This move has been long rumored. For people who don't know about Bari Weiss, she was an opinion writer at the New York Times. She left because several years ago, because in a very public way, because she said she felt as though she had been being bullied effectively, that I'm paraphrasing, but being bullied for not being kind of reflexively liberal, and that kind of the woke mindset of the New York Times really bothered her. She goes and founds the Free Press. The Free Press becomes a massive, massive success. 1.5 million subscribers on Substack, a huge, huge thing. And it also becomes sort of a flagship of people who say, see, the media is too liberal, and that supporting something that's not just pro-Trump, it's not pro-Trump, but skeptical of woke, kind of the woke ideas, skeptical of DEI, very pro-Israel, that there is a way to succeed in journalism, and the path is simply not just by being reflexively liberal. Okay. Bari Weiss is a controversial figure, always has been. Kind of mainstream media, I think, looks askance at her. And many people in the mainstream media are condemning this move to put someone like her in a incredibly powerful position over the top of the CBS Evening News, 60 Minutes, right? I mean, storied franchises. I will tell you why I don't think this is the end of journalism, and why I actually think we should at least give her a chance. And I'm going to read some numbers to you. Now, on Friday, and hear me out. I know this won't be popular among some of you, but hear me out. On Friday, the Gallup, great polling organization, released numbers on trust in the mainstream media. Okay. The big takeaway was that just 28% of people, basically 1 in 4 people, said that they had a great deal or a fair amount of trust in the mainstream media. That is the lowest number that Gallup has ever measured. So 28% great deal or fair amount of trust in mainstream media. 36% said they have not very much trust in the mainstream media. 34% said they had none at all when it came to trust in the mainstream media. None at all. Okay. How did we get here? Well, I want to just read you a few numbers, because Gallup has been doing this poll for a long time. In the 1970s, okay, which, seems a long time ago, 50 years ago, between 68 and 72% of the public regularly told pollsters, the Gallup pollsters, that they had a great deal or a fair amount of trust in the mainstream media. Even by 1997, okay, so less than 30 years ago, 1997, 53%, a majority of people said they had a great deal or a fair amount of trust in the mainstream media. Again, today, 28%, lowest it's ever been measured. And I looked through the age breakdowns in the current numbers. Here's something that's even more concerning to me. What age group do you think has the most trust in the media? 65 plus. 43% of people 65 years of age and older have a great deal or a fair amount of trust in the media. What do 18 to 29-year-olds think of the media? 28% great deal or fair amount of trust. So the people who believe in the media, the mainstream media, the most are the oldest people who, because of actuarial tables, probably won't be with us forever. The youngest people are right at the bottom of trust and belief in the media. So it's not like it's going to just get better. This is why I'm not super opposed to Bari Weiss. I think we have to wait and see what she does in the job. I understand people who have concerns. She has a non-traditional sort of background to run a big news organization. But look, what we've been doing in the mainstream media has not worked. It has not worked from a business perspective, and it has not worked from a trust perspective. None of these places, with the exception of the New York Times, thanks to Wordle, the crossword, and its recipes subscription sites, none of these places are in robust financial health. They are all struggling. I think you have to, given that, you must think differently. You must try things that have not been tried before. And I don't know Bari Weiss. I've never met her in person, but she does not strike me as kind of like, it's not like we're putting Chris Ruddy at Newsmax in charge of CBS entirely, right? She is someone, yes, she has been resistant to what she views as, woke policies and kind of the academic life in terms of how they approach these issues, somewhat critical of DEI as well. She's been very pro-Israel. She is more opinionated than a person who has typically had a job like this, or I should say more publicly opinionated. Because if you think the people who run all these things are not opinionated, then you don't know how it works. Of course they have opinions. They're people who have spent their lives in politics and media. Of course they have opinions about how all this should work. So before we condemn CBS and insist that this is the end of mainstream media, the mainstream media is ending whether Bari Weiss is involved in CBS News or not. When you have 28% of the public who says they have a great deal or even a fair amount of trust in you, you are in a dark, dark place. When you have the business models that we have right now in media, mainstream media, that are not working, you are in a dark, dark place. You have to, I think, take some swings. And yeah, I get that Bari Weiss isn't everybody's cup of tea. I get it that if you're liberal, you don't love her. But to me, you've got to try some things. People don't trust the media. The most important thing that we can do is begin to rebuild trust in mainstream media. I don't know if it's possible, candidly. It may not be possible. I think I can have trust because you know me. You can say, okay, I don't agree with him on everything, but you know where I'm coming from. You know where I get my money from. It's you all. I don't know if trust can be rebuilt in the mainstream media. I don't know if the mainstream media can work as a business, but I know that what the people who have been in charge of mainstream media for the last 50 years have been doing isn't working. It's not even coming close to working. They continue to collapse business-wise, and they continue to lose the trust of the American public. Republicans, but also Democrats and independents. And to me, when you are doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, that's insanity. So I welcome it. I welcome to see what Bari Weiss will do. I don't know if what she'll do is good or bad, but she will shake things up and we'll see. Let's wait and see what she does before we judge her as a failure or success. Remember, what the people in mainstream media running these companies have not been doing anything to help the business or the editorial problem. Let's bring in some fresh faces. Let's see if those people can help. All right, speaking of help, I hope you'll do one thing for me, which is hit the subscribe button. Look, you're not always going to agree with me. That's a good thing. I want you to not agree with me all the time. If you do, it means I'm trying to sell you something. All I'm trying to do is say, hit that subscribe button, get content that makes you think, even if you don't agree with it. Okay.